Hello people, it's me again. What did I say? Well, I've started to tune the car now, but the weather is not good. It's been cold with snow one day, and then it switched to warmer weather with very much wind and rain. Today it's about 6 degrees out, but it's very gray outside. But maybe tomorrow I can keep going with this tuning of this car. I also switched to 20% NITRO fuel now, and I'm using the OS Turbo P5 glow plug. When I tune the car, I first warm it up because it's usually around 0 to 6-8 degrees out. So I use the engine heater, and then I get it up to about 60 degrees, the block. And then I start the car and just let it go on idle or using just a little bit throttle, and measure the temperature to it's up to about above 80, but more like 90 or 100 degrees. And when it's up to 100 degrees, I can start to tune. One thing I noticed yesterday, and I took with me the GoPro camera, but when I got down, I noticed that the battery of the GoPro camera was totally flat, so I couldn't use it. But I started to tune the car, and it got up to really good RPM, high speed. But I had the idle was a bit high, and I turned the idle gap screw down to where I believe the 0.5 millimeter opening gap is. But idle was still high, and I of course tried to richen out the low speed needle to get the idle down, but it was very rich already. So I got this feeling that maybe I've not measured the idle gap completely correct, because when I did turn the idle gap screw, I keep turning it lower and lower and lower and below what I believed was the 0.5 idle gap. So I got home yesterday. I did measure this idle gap again to just check it. And what I did find is that, yes, I'm not sure if you can see it now, but I marked it again here with a yellow mark on the bottom there, you can see. So you have 2 white and 1 yellow. The white on the right side is idle gap 1.0 millimeter, and the white on the top is 0.7 millimeter. That is where I thought it was 0.5. But when I measured again yesterday, I found 0.5 is really where you see this yellow mark. So it's way away from the first mark that I thought was 0.5. So now I understand why it couldn't get the idle down. And now, tomorrow if I will try to tune it again, I know better where 0.5 is. So that's just something to notice. Also notice now that I marked it again. I'm not sure if you can see it. Let me see here. But with the idle gap screw now set at the new, more correct 0.5 millimeter opening, the screw is almost flat. No, flush it's called. It's almost flush. So that's something you can look for. Idle gap screw, almost flush. And then also yesterday I got the car up to very good high RPM. high speed. And I measured this, sorry if this flashlight I'm using now is making the picture to blink. But I've set up this high speed needler, and when I got the car up to good speed and I got home, I did measure where it's now standing, and it's in position 60 minutes, also that's one complete turn, and about 50 minutes more out from bottom. So 60 minutes and 50 minutes, or 1 hour and 50 minutes out from bottom. So that's one complete turn plus 50 minutes more. HoBao suggests you should have it 2 hours out from bottom, so 2 complete turns. But I got it 10 minutes more lean than HoBao should suggest. So maybe it's more better to have it where HoBao suggests, but I got up to really good RPM, and it was a lot of smoke still. So I will try this setting here. Of course, I've not talked so much about this mid-speed screw, or what they call it. That's this one. But HoBao says you should keep this flush and don't touch it, just let it be flush. So I have not touched it, I just let it be flush. For the low speed needle, if you can see it there, also it's very flush now. But of course we have to tune that after what you hear from the car more and see. But this is now where I'm gonna start tuning from next time. But that is when the speed is up to heat about 100 degrees. So I'm gonna have the low speed needle about flush. We're gonna have the oil gap screw about flush. There's where I believe the 0.5 oil gap is. And a high speed needle is 1 hour and 50 minutes out from bottom. Alright. But when you start the car, you can't have the oil gap screw or 0.5, or you can't have the oil gap at that small opening, because the car needs some more throttle to start up. But that you can do on your transmitter. So I just will take up the throttle, some of the transmitter, and have the screw here, and keep the throttle a bit higher in the very first minutes. But when the car gets up to 90 and 100 degrees, I believe I can drop the throttle and get the good idle with this setting. Maybe I have to open it a bit more here, so you get a little bit more throttle, and then I can drop it down later. Especially if I see the temperature is rising about 120 degrees. Yesterday I got the car up to a little short time, it was up to 130 degrees. That's a bit high. It should not reach above 120, HoBao says. But I believe that was because I had idle a bit high also. So, and of course the high speed needle could be a bit lean. I did try it to lean it more out than this, but then when I gave high speed, high throttle, you can hear the car was like making this this sound. So it's struggling to get fuel. It was too less fuel, so you had to richen it some again. So I believe this is not far away from where you should have the high speed needle. But let me check that tomorrow, and remember it also depends on the weather and conditions and your glow plug and your fuel and everything. So I had this big plan that I did show you in the last video, but when you are working on it, you almost forget everything and you can't keep reading. But it was good to have a plan just to start up the car, so I didn't forget anything. But when you are tuning the car, you don't have time really to read on paper that much and following a plan. You just have to keep watching the car and listen to the sound and everything and measure the temperature. But it's good to know where 0.5 millimeter idle gap is, so you have a bit of control where you really are. And I also feel it's good to know what so near the high-speed needle should be a good high-speed needle position. So it should be around here. When I'm saying here, I'm looking at the top of this high-speed needle here. So I'm looking at this top here. So I'm not. This would be too lean, too much lean, and this would be too much rich when we have it there. But maybe this is a good position also, and this is where HoBao says it should be, about 2 hours out from the bottom. But I'm going a bit more lean here, so that is about 1 hour and 50 minutes out from bottom. Yes, that was all for this video, and tomorrow, if I got time, I will try to tune it more and see if I can get a good high speed and a good idle, and also this one stage idle, see if I can get that. But still, it's not weather here in the southwest of Norway to drive outside, so I have to see next week if we maybe get the weather with a bit more dry conditions. So, thank you for this. Goodbye.